Okay, let's get this form to actually submit. Since we're submitting back to the same route and controller, we want to process things only if the request is a post. First, we'll need Symfony's request object. To get this in a controller, add a request argument that's type hinted with Symfony's request class. Normally, if you have an argument here, Symfony tries to populate it with a routing wildcard with the same name as the variable. If it doesn't find one, it throws a giant error. The only exception to that rule is this. If you type hint an argument with the request class, Symfony will give you that object. This doesn't work for everything, only the request class. Use the form's handleRequest method to actually process the data. Next, add an if statement that checks to see if the form was submitted and if all the data is valid. The handleRequest method grabs the posted data from the request, processes it, and runs any validation. And actually, it only does this for post requests, so on a GET request, form is submitted returns false. If the form is submitted because it's a post request and passes validation, let's print the submitted data for now. If the form is invalid, or if this is a GET request, it'll just skip this block and re-render the form with errors if there are any. Time to test it. We haven't added validation yet, but the password fields have built-in validation if the values don't match. When I submit, the form is rendered, meaning there was an error. In fact, there is now a little red box on the Web Debug toolbar. If we click it, we can see details about the form, what was submitted, and options for each field. Head back and fill in the form correctly. Now we see our dump data. Notice that the data is an array with a key and value for each field. Let's take this data and build a new user object from it. There is an easier way to do this, and I'll show you that in a second. We still need to encode and set the password. For now, let's copy in some code from our user fixtures to help with this. We'll make this much more awesome in the next screencast. Use this function, then finally persist and flush the new user. The last step of any successful form submit is to redirect. We'll redirect to the home page. First, we need to generate a URL, just like we do with the path function in Twig. In a controller, there's a generate URL function that works exactly the same way. To redirect, use the redirect function and pass it the URL. Remember that a controller always returns a response object. Redirect is just a shortcut to create a response that's all set up to redirect to this URL. Okay, time to kick this Proton torpedo. As expected, we end up on the home page. We can even log in as the new user. Head back to the controller and remove the isSubmitted call in the if statement. This actually doesn't change anything because isValid automatically returns false if the form wasn't submitted, meaning if the request isn't a post. So either just do this, or keep the isSubmitted part in there if you want. I find it adds some clarity.